How's it going? I haven't seen you guys in a long time. I haven't been posting on YouTube. I've been super busy with other things related to the course, as well as finishing up school, things like this. So I want to show you what has been happening with the people calling that because of the virus or everything like that. It's actually not because of the virus, and I can explain why and whatnot. In my opinion, that was more of a trigger rather than the causation of the recent downtrend. And so many people get that wrong, in my opinion. So let's go ahead and get started on the chart. And I haven't done a video in a while, so I'm not going to be going over all the basics of what the rules are for Elliott wave and things like this. So be sure to watch my previous videos if you don't know how to do that. So let's go ahead and start all the way back here. Let's go into higher time frame, excuse me. So go into the daily chart. And I'm just going to show you, let's start by looking at the super long-term, not super long-term, pretty long-term things that are happening in the market. So ever since the big '08 crash, this was, as you can see, if you're using the log scale, this the recent plummet. I'll turn off everything for a second. This is nothing in comparison to that in terms of percentage. That would be by using the log scale. If we turn off the log scale, they look a little more sizable, but you have to keep in mind in stocks and Forex and futures and everything like that, everything is in percentage. So the percentage isn't even right. So it's best to use the log scale for this, just because that's a more accurate way to look at the market when looking at such large time frames, such as this instance. So from the beginning of the '08 crash, that is when a new large wave started. This wave is the super cycle wave. A grand super cycle finished here, and we have a new super cycle wave after that. So we've been following it for quite some time now, and eventually, finally, it has come to a conclusion. And that's where we see all these fives and everything gets really mush up there. I'll get into that, but I want to talk about this really, really briefly before we do that. So, as you know, we have the 5 structures and the ABC. As you can see, you can quite easily subdivide this entire chart by using just a normal Elliott wave. There's no reason to use WXY or any of those kind of things when looking at this on these higher time frames, especially. So we could have subdivided the 3 to the 4. It's pretty easy to see an ABC wave in there. I don't need to even mark it up because we're only going to be focusing on what's going on right now. So let's go ahead and go on to a smaller time frame. We'll go on to the 1 hour, and we're going to zoom in on just this most recent point leading up to the big fall. So let's start at the one wave of this degree. And you can pretty easily see there's an ABC here, long C in that case. But it's good to see that the B wave had a full tracement, actually a little bit of a higher B wave there as well. And we're just moving up, and we're only going to look at the 4 because that's really the only thing that's super important to look at in terms of this, because it's just really want to talk about just the very last moments of this. So let me just double check the degrees real quick. So this is the minor wave. So the minor wave finished here, and then of course we have the next wave and the next smaller wave all the way down to the minuet wave over here, minute and minuet, all leading up. So we got 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5. And then we see this huge crash after that. And you might already be able to tell the ABCs between these things. We're going to go over that in a little more detail. So what do we have going on right now? Well, if you look at the distance from the 0 to the 1, and then also the distance from the 2 to 3, you'll see it's approximately similar, but the 3 is just a little bit longer, as it should be. That's usually how these things work. The reason why this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pattern rather than ABC is because of this high time frame. So we go back really quickly. we'll see what my future predictions are, and we'll see that this A wave here should not be a C wave, because that would actually be really, really small. Oops, didn't mean to move that. It'd be really small in terms of this high of a degree. So if this degree, the same degree as this one, super cycle, goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ABC to there, that would look absolutely ridiculous. So what I think is more likely is maybe it won't extend this far, but I do expect it to come down a little more than it has, and then it will come up, of course, as the B waves do, and then it will go down once more, most likely lower than this A here. Very, very likely we could see it hitting the S&P hitting 1300 or around that area is not unpredictable. Right now, I just have a little bit of placeholders to show you the general directions. These are not specific numbers yet. I'm not even going to try to get these yet, just because that's so far into the future. So now let's go ahead and hop over to the other chart. So this is Awanda's version of the chart, and Awanda doesn't have as much data. So if I were to scroll back, we can't go back nearly as far, which is why I have both the charts. And we are able to see time after market closes, before market opens, all that good stuff. So we can go into these smaller time frames, the 1 hour and whatnot, and really see what the market looks like. So let's go and look at this real fast. And I think I did a really good job of showing you which waves lead to which. By the way, before I forget, both of these charts and their description will be in the YouTube description below, and that will take you to the TradingView website where I've actually published these two ideas. They're actually my first two ideas I've published on this website. Oh, 3 is a little wonky, shouldn't be there. But if you could take a look at that, I'd really appreciate it. And also I'm going to make a free chat that I'm trying to start. And if you could join that as well, that'd be super awesome. I'll be posting things like this all the time in there, and it'll be a really great community. So let's go in order of the largest to the smallest waves. So we've already looked at the largest, the ABC. So I'm not going to touch too much on that one. But let's go on to the primary wave. I think this is primary, or is it cycle? Or primary, okay, excuse me. So this wave here, we see that has a really good 1, 2, and it's forming a 3, and then it should go down one more time down to this 5 here. One more degree down, we're now looking at this one. This is the intermediate wave. And so we can start all the way up here from our 0. We have a nice 5-wave structure down here to the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The only reason I'm taking apart this step by step is so that you can really see it, because it is really a crowded chart, because I went into such a small, so many different degrees, and it can be a little confusing. And I'm using the yellow to separate it, since it is a down wave, just so to not get confusion. If it was blue up and blue down, it would be a little more confusing. So let me know what you think of the yellow as well, as opposed to just doing blue up and blue down. And I've thought about doing the ABCDE as well, that TradingView has for they call it the triangle wave, and I've seen some people use that for the downward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s that make up the A and the C waves. But I like just doing color changing it personally, and I can get rid of the lines as well, because I know it is really busy. So there's a couple things to really point out, and there are some weird points, like it's 3, 4. I know it looks really, really small, and that's ugly. Again, that is the minor wave. Just double checking, it's the minor wave. Yes, it is the minor wave. And the reason for this one is probably the one that most people have questions about. If you really were to analyze my chart here, if we go into super, super small time frames, such as 5 minute, for example, you'll be able to see just how small this thing really is. And I think you'll agree with me on the count if you actually look at it. So we're going from a B to the C, and then I'll turn off auto. And you might be tempted to say, oh, this looks like, it's bigger, it looks better here. Well, in my opinion, this cannot be a 3-4 because the 4 would very, very clearly violate one of the key Elliott rules. I just want to touch on that really fast. So moving through the chart, everything, it has been very easily counted. Again, I'll have a link to the chart as well in the description. And this is my prediction so far. I think this got moved a little bit. This should be the lowest point here. And so what is going to happen now? This is probably what you came to the video to see. And from this recent 4, it should just finish up on this 5. How long is this going to take? If I had to give you, an approximate amount of time, it would be on just by tomorrow. Right now it's the 12th, so 13th or so. Maybe later. It could happen next week on the 15th. Even it could be an overnight thing. Maybe this last wave. But for now, it actually looks good to go for the upside potential. And I really, really like that a lot. So I want to see this come up. I do not want to see this 2 come above the 4. If that happens, this would be invalid. That means I did something else wrong. Maybe this would be the previous 5, and then it's a different ABC. I don't exactly know. But this 2 should not come above this 4. So there's a concrete number you can use. And it should come to at least a 61.8. As we saw previously, it only came up to the previous B, or the 2, excuse me, only came up to the 50 last time. So there's no need for it to come all the way up to the 61.8. It's just a tendency. Oh, this is backwards. Excuse me. There we go. I had it right the first time. That's a little annoying. All right. There we go. Oh, that button's in the way. Okay, so the 2 should come up to a minimum of this point here, especially because it just hit this 50. In my experience, it's so rare to see the US 30 or the SP500, either or, hit the same point like this twice in a row. So I would have extreme confidence in it coming at least up to the 618. I could easily see it coming up to the 71 or even the 886 as well. But I'm considering having a small entry, very small, because the market's extremely volatile right now, right here on the 61.8. And I would be, my take profit would probably be at the negative 618 right here, at 2270. And that's just for safety reasons. It'd be obviously a really fantastic risk reward ratio. I can mark it up just because this is actual concrete trade. And so again, where do we not want to see the price go? We don't want to see it breaking. So if it does break, I do not want to be in the trade anymore. That means I did something incorrectly. And I'll definitely own up to that mistake if that's the case. Oh. And for my take profit, I could see it coming down to here. I really could see it going farther. I could see it hitting this negative 100 down here very easily. But at the same time, I just feel like this is a better place for it. So of course, the risk reward ratio is 2.84 to 1. And so that's a really good risk reward ratio. As long as you win even just half the time, these will be winning trades, which is super awesome to do. As you can see, I left plenty of room for it to even hit the top. You probably don't even need that much room. You can probably get a little better ratio out of it. Even if it comes up this close, it's pretty much broken anyways. So that's kind of what I talk about with my members on the Discord for VBS Academy as well. So let's say that you're watching this video after this 3 is hidden. Maybe it's already a little too late to get into a sell or something. Well, let's assume that it bounces off one of these 2 points. Where exactly would you want to trade this? Well, first of all, you wouldn't. It's really that simple, because we're assuming this is a 3-4 wave. Again, I might be wrong on this whole thing, and this whole thing really, really could be just an ABC, and this could be just the final C. That's that's a strong possibility as well. If that was the case, then I'll go probably a little higher than this. But if I am correct, we know a maximum point that it can go up. So let me get out my ray tool here, and it's right here. We know that the excuse me, it's not that point. I got confused by the degrees. Let me go into a little higher time frame because it's a little annoying to be in this small time frame. All right, here's the real point that it can't break. Right there. So at its maximum, the 4 can go up to here. At its absolute maximum, it can hit it. It can have it take a bounce off it. If it wicks through this point, what I will be looking for then is a buy opportunity. This is the absolute maximum I want to see is 4. I do not want to see it any bit higher than that. Again, I'd probably enter a little sooner because I would be looking for that last sell. Again, you always want to be with the trend and never against it. So this 5 wave here should be longer than the 4. So if you're considering entering to catch the 4th wave, you should probably just wait and try and get the end of the 4th wave and try and get the 5th, since the 5th should extend past the 3rd. That's generally how it works unless there's truncation. Again, never assume truncation. It's always, not always, but it's so rare. It's incredibly rare. It almost never happens. So this A wave, I'm assuming, will end around here, around 2000 on the S&P. And that's not going to be for a little while. It's going to be for a couple days. After which we should see the market come up here, approximately, maybe not that high, more like there. Yeah, that looks a little better. For an approximate, again, this is too far in the future to tell, and then it'll come down a little lower, very likely lower than this A. It doesn't have to. C's truncate a lot more often than 5s, a lot more often. So we could see the C end a little higher, but generally it does go lower there. Sometimes even a lot lower, as we saw previously when looking through this. So I hope this wasn't a little too long for you. I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully you got some actual concrete trades out of this with these 2 limit points that I told you about. One last limit point that I want to mention before I finish up. We'll go on to the 1-day chart. And I don't believe I marked it off. I did not. Okay. The lowest, keep this in mind, the very lowest this chart can go is right here, all the way down here. So it really does have plenty of room if the chart wants to continue to go down. It would not be ridiculous. Also, for the timing issue, I could so easily see this taking much longer, even from a year from now to actually finish. So keep these 2 things in mind when trading this. And again, I'll have all the links. Please join my group, and I'll see you in the next video.